recording process. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen now. Hope you guys can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it, sir.
All right, so let's go to GitHub. You just type github.com in your browser tab there. So we've spent the week trying to familiarize ourselves with JavaScript syntax, which we have been learning, and we've taken about 4 days of the week to solve some couple of problems. And in the course of solving the problem, we've been able to understand the application of some of the things we have been learning in since we began the class. We've been able to solve different arrays, string related problems. We've been able to pick some problem online, and those problems we pick on and we try to solve them on our own without considering or looking at answers somewhere. That is, we just look at the problems and try to think along the line of solution, considering all the skills we've learned. So now this is my own GitHub dashboard, and so I'm going to log out so that we begin with creating an account. So let me sign out. So if you are there, you click on your sign up button and it will open a screen where you can do your sign up. Like I was telling us previously, the reason for this kind of tool is for easy collaboration and for also storing of our code online. So you enter your email address. In this case, I have the email address I've used. Okay. You enter your email address. If it is available, then it will provide a space for you to enter your password. So just proceed with the account creation and then we continue inside. When you are done, you just signal that you are done creating your account. It doesn't take time. Once you input the necessary data. So in my case, it's telling me that my email is already taken or is invalid. That's an existing email account on the platform, so it cannot be allowed for a new account. So just try yours and then you move to the stage where you add your password. So in my case, I will need to sign in instead of to sign up since I already have an account. But in your case, you will need to do the sign up. If you are done, you just signal us so that we know that you're done. So when you have a JIT account like this, all the code you'll be writing, you can save them there. So in a situation where you buy a new system, you wouldn't need to be bothered whether your code is available in the laptop. And also, more importantly, when you are looking for a job as a beginner like this, you can use those projects you have on your profile, reference them on your resume, and then recruiters and companies can then go to the GitHub address you specify in your resume and try to look at what you have been able to do, to assess your skills level and be able to determine if you are good for the job or not. And then we can also use it. There are GitHub account for corporate organization where the company can use it to manage their collaboration. They create their project repository there. Everybody working on the project will push their source code there to their own branches. So the way GitHub work is that everybody in the team can have their own branches. Like if we start this project and we are working as a team, we can have a branch that your own code will be residing where you push your code. We have a branch where the next person pushes code. And at the end of the day, when you do a push, you can create a pull request. That pull request is signaling people in the team or the person in charge of a project, particularly just your team people, that you have a code you have written that need to be merged into the main repository where every person's work will be residing. So as you are working and I'm working, other people are working, all our code are saved independently in our branches when we push them online. Now, the pull request is telling us then that, hey, I'm done with what I'm doing. Can you check and merge it into the main account or the branch where all the repositories, all the branches are collected together? And then we can then do a build and do some couple of testing. And from there, we can do our deployment. So that is one of the importance of the using such system. So if you look at okay, so this is want to just opening a link of where you can see more information about it. You see the basic information about what you can use it to do. It said it's a source code management tool. It's free and open source. That is Git itself, but GitHub is not free and open source, although there are open source features. But it also have corporate or paid versions where companies collaborate and they pay for some of those services. So GitHub uses Git internally for source code management, but Git itself is a tool, it's a DevOps tool that is used for source code management. So GitHub is just a technology that uses Git and provide a cloud-based source code management for people using Git. So earlier, before this time of GIT, what used to happen, I think I have also worked in such an environment back then, as a couple of years ago, in one of my previous company where we didn't have a GitHub repository set up either online on the cloud or offline or in a local server. So what was the norm then is when you finish writing your code, you will copy your code and send it to somebody that will merge it. Okay, so in such situation, when you copy your code and give to the person, or you go to the system that is designated for such merge, and then you use your Flash. Let's say you use Flash to copy it from your system. You plug it to that central server or whatever system that you are using for the merging, or through whatever means you can use to push it to that server to send it there, and then you do the merging by yourself manually. When you are done, the next person can also do his own. When everybody finishes merging their own, you can then do a build and test. And the process, that could be a couple of errors too. And after that, be resolved. It's just a cycle of people doing those merging one by one, but it's always time consuming, other than unlike using a version control system like JIT. There are also other version control systems, but JIT happens to be one of the most popular today. And you see that every developer has an entire copy of the code on their local machine. Now using Git, all the code we are writing, you can have the copy in your machine. They mustn't reside on that central server. But in the case of doing this, you will need to go to the central server before the time of Git to go and copy all the source code if you need code written by other people. But we using Git, you can just write a single command on your system and it will go online and pull all the source code of other people and bring it to your machine if you need them, and you proceed with what you are doing. Then when you are also done doing your work, in just a couple of seconds, you can write the command to push your code online. And when you are push your code online, you can then create a pull request, signaling others that your code is ready for a review and then for a merge. And using a system like Git like this, changes made to the source code can be tracked by others. So in this case, we know who did what. Like if you are asked to implement the UI of our calculator project, and then someone else was asked to implement the equals button action, that is when they click on that button equal to, is going to perform some operation, and then you are asked to do that. Someone else was asked to implement other features in the app. So when you do your merging, we can easily trace what you did and what you sent to the server. It's very easily, because every work you push to the server have a trace, have a link to you. It's linked to you. So there is something that identifies who did this, who pushed this to the server. So it's very easy now to know what people did, and it's very difficult for people to deny what they did. So if you're the one that caused the problem in the system, it's easy to identify you are the one that did. If you're the one that implemented a feature, it's very easy to know that this code that you push contains social content. And if you didn't also push anything, there will be no trace of what you've done. So it's easy to know what people did. And then there is a regular communication between the developers. Like I told you earlier, if you push your code today, you can create a pull request, and people will just know that you have created a pull request. It will be signaled. It's very easy then to communicate along the project line. So it helps us to track changes in our computer files, and is generally used for source code management in software development. And that is why we use it, so that we track our code and also learn how to work with others using such collaborative tool. Okay, is there anyone that is done with account creation?
For me, still watching. Maybe after the class, I will create mine. Let me just see what you do with it.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to send this link for us, because you will need to get some do the study on this JIT. Mostly, just read up about them so that you have better understanding. It's a very interesting class that will take so many days. But in the course of our learning, we'll be doing most of these practicals in our project. But it will be very nice. You spend some time and then do some read up on that. Possibly you can equally do some practice, which is very nice. So I'm going to paste it now on the Telegram channel so that you can have access to it. So once you open and you go to the link, you'll be able to see that. So I'm going back now to GitHub. You can see my code, the screen now. I'm on GitHub. So to create a repository, you click on that new. Let me go back there. You look at on the dashboard here. On the left panel here, you see top repository. Here you can search for the repository. Like I have a repository called Awesome Recorder, which is the recorder I'm working on. I have the repository. If you click on it, you will see all the files that is on that repository. So now you see I have a folder called images, import, SRC, and this does it, which I will remove. It's not necessary. I have so many files, including a test video. I have a player JS, which I use to create a custom web video player on the app. And then I have different files. So you see it here now. I can, if I say I want to look at some of the source code I have here, I can come here and click on CSS. That is CSS folder. This is my fab. I can click on fab.css, and then this is the content of the code. This is the code that is still in my system. Now it is available for me now online. If I come to your house and I want to work on this project, I don't need to copy the source code from my house. What I can just do is to ask you for permission for your laptop or any other system, and then I will download this app, this source code from GitHub and begin to work on your system. When I am done, I can delete the source code from your system after pushing it to the cloud. You won't have the source code again in your system, but the work I did in your house have been pushed online. So when I get to the house, what I will just do is to update my own source code with the one I have up, being that the one I have up is newer, and the new ones will be downloaded to my system, and I continue from where I stopped. So when you use this kind of system, you make mistake when traveling and you leave your working system at home. If there is any system you can use to work over there to do your job, you can easily access your code online without crying that, oh, I can't do anything, I forgot my system. It's one of those things that they help us to do. So to create a new repository, what you can do, you can come here also and see, you see new repository. But if you are on your dashboard, you were like I was before, if you're on your dashboard, you will also see it on your left panel. Okay, you will also see it there where you can easily create your project, your repository. Okay, so we'll create a repository called calculator. So whichever place you start to create your repository is not a problem. Whether you come here, you click, or you come here, you click, they are all leading to the same thing. So here you type the name of the repository. The repository is just like a folder, you know, that contains all your project file. Look at the definition, what they are telling you here. You say a repository contains all project files, including the revision history. Already have a project repository elsewhere. If you have, that is, you can bring it on board on GitHub. So what it's saying to us is that the repository contains all the source code in your project, including the history, that is the changes you made on each of those files. It's a very interesting thing. What you did yesterday, what you did in the morning today, and what you will do tomorrow, all the histories will be contained in that repository. So if you, for example, you have a problem in the morning, you can easily just forget everything you did in the morning that created the problem and roll back your code to how it was yesterday when you closed, being that as at the time you closed yesterday, everything was perfect, so that you can have a clean slate to begin afresh from where the program, the software you were writing, the files you were working on were in a perfect condition. So now I create my repository called calculator. Okay. So you can put a description here, say a calculator app built with web technologies. You say HTML, let's say we use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. This is the three technologies we'll be using to build the app, so we can just, so you can describe your app anyhow based on the information you have. And then you say public. If it is public, any person can come and see the app. Anybody can access it. But if it is private, you must add somebody to be a reviewer, a contributor before he can access your project. But if it is public, people can see. So I'm going to leave this one public because we all, yeah, it's work that we want to make public. There is nothing special about the app. We are not using it for any business oriented work. We are just using it for our learning purpose, so we can make it public. There are other things. You can add a readme file. This readme file is just a file that helps you describe your project and write different descriptions, instructions on how to run it, everything that you need to tell the user, someone that comes to the repository, any information you want them to get, you can put it in the readme file. Then you can also choose your license type. Is it free, commercial? All these are license type you can specify for the repository, and all the rest. So we are not going to specify any of those things, not necessary for us. Is So what we do now, you click on create repository. Okay, because we did not specify something like a readme, we say this page will be open for you. If you specify a readme, is that readme that will be available? You won't see this page. Now, to make sure that you link your app, the project you are working on, with the one you have online, you can then do something. I'm going to go now to our mentorship folder. Let me go to our mentorship folder, and then I will create a new folder called calculator, which is where we'll be working on our calculator. So just a moment, let the IDE load. Okay, now I'm going to create a folder called calculator. All right, so I will create it on the root of this folder so that it will be, and it's, so I create a folder called, we call it calculator. All right. So let's, we will have like a calculator.js, calculator.html, calculator.css in this folder. We are going to have three files. So I'm just going to create these empty files. So we'll create a calculator.html in there. Then we'll create the next one called calculator.css in there. And then we'll create the last one, say calculator.js for our JavaScript inside the folder. All right. So now we have curated our project folder. What we are going to do now is to link this folder, make it a Git repository, initialize it to be a Git repository. Then after then, we link it up with a project we created online. So let's open this now on our terminal. We can right click it and choose open in integrated terminal. So the terminal is going to open and point to the calculator folder which we just created. Okay, and so let's see what we do. We go back to, so the first thing you do is to write this git init. That is the first thing you do. This one will now make the folder you are working on a Git repository. It's going to initialize Git in that folder. And that initialization will then help you to use it to write some couple of Git commands. So now I would do execute it, push and click on your enter button, and then now you see we now have, you see this first line we have here, there is nothing like master here like it is in this second one. This second one is not signaling to us that it has been made a Git repository. This master is the first branch that Git initialization command create for us. So now we have it initialized as a Git repository. So we are now going to proceed in linking it to the Git we have online. So if we do this, if you write this code, what you are telling Git now is to add a file called readme.md. We don't have the file. We don't have the file called readme.md, so we just delete this readme.md and put dot. When you put dot, you are telling Git that everything in this particular folder we are in, that is in the calculator folder, should be included in our repository. Now, after the dot, an action called Git staging has taken place. You see that all these files now have been marked A before they were U. Now, all they are now ready to be committed into our folder. We have now registered them that these files have changes. Okay, these files have changes. So what we now need to do, the next stage is to write a a git command, which is something like this. You see here, git commit -n. That n stands for message. The message you want to signal when people look at this commit, this is the message that is describing what this commit is. In our case, this is just our first commit, so there is nothing bad in leaving the statement as git commit. But let's just add some couple of words and say all files are currently empty. Okay, now you know all the files we created, we didn't write anything inside them, so they are currently empty. So if we hit our enter key now, you see what Git is telling us now, that all files are currently empty. That is the message we put, and it's not saying three files change, zero insertion, because there is no line of code we wrote inside them. There is no new insertion in the history of this repository, and there is no line also deleted because there is actually no line there also. Then we have this information now. We have calculator.css. This one is part of the thing that have been added. You say it's create mode. It wasn't there before, so it's create mode. And then we have the next one, HTML. We have the last one, the .js. So these three files have been added to our Git repository. So the next thing we have to do now, because in the current version of GitHub uses main as the main repository and not master. So what we are going to do now is to put this code here, which is going to create that branch for us called main. And after creating the main branch, it's going to also make it available for us to use it, link it with the one online, and push our code there. So let's execute the command now. Okay, so I hit enter again, git branch main. Now you see that it has created a branch called main for us, and at the same time, it has switched the branch from master to main. We are not in our main repository, in our main branch. Now, the next thing we have to do now is to link this particular project in our laptop to the one we have on GitHub Online. And the code we do that is we have a code called Git repository, Git remote add. Then you put the name of the remote you are adding. In our case, we'll just leave it as main, which is what we have there. So let me go there again and copy the code. It's a Git remote add origin. All right. So what this code is saying now, this is Git, which is what we are using. Remote is signaling somewhere else apart from our system. You know that GitHub is not in our system. It's a cloud-based Git source code management system, a platform. And then this command add is saying that add this particular link. Now link this particular link to our own project in our laptop. And this origin is the name of this particular linking we are doing. This gives us the opportunity to add different link. For example, if you have another version control elsewhere, you can equally add them with another name that you can then add. Let's say you have the one with the bit bucket, you can add or remote origin bit bucket and you put the link. So this origin now is the name of our remote connection link. And the link is pointing to GitHub, and this is the link for our calculator project on GitHub. And if you look at the link, it's saying github.com/ your username. This is my username, standdev, and after the standdev, which is my username, is now /calculator.git. So once you will hit enter now, the linking will be done and is successful. There is no errors. That means our linking is done. The next thing we can do here now is to push our code online using the git push. Now git push this u, we are putting this u because it's the first time we are pushing this, and this is not yet recognized the linking with our local and online. So this is saying update our upstream. We are linking the local stream with our upstream, and we are using the origin. You see the origin we added here, that is the name of our link, our remote repository. So we add the origin here, and then we add the branch we are linking, we are pushing it to. So if we hit enter now, once the code is push is successful, it will give us the message that our code has been pushed online. So now you look at branch main set up to track origin main. So our main in our local system here is tracking the changes in the main branch in our GitHub repository here. So if we go to our code online here, if I come here now and refresh my branch here, you see all the files I have in my system have been added online. You see here now we have our calculator.css, calculator.html, calculator.js, and look at the message we added, which is first commit, all files are currently empty. All the files that are affected by this commit and this push action is going to have this message in front of them. If we push another one now, so we have a message here, add a readme file. We don't have a readme file here, but instead of adding it here, okay, let me add it here then and show you how we can then synchronize what is up with what is done. So I'm going to create a readme file here. All right, this is the content of our readme file, what we have in our description, but I'm going to add more things. I'm not going to add this project is for our, okay. let's say Easy Labs mentorship program. Okay, is the first project we are building after our introductory passes. All right, so this is our README file now, and then I come down. Now, something special about this, we can also add a message about this. This is the dash M we put when we are writing our code on the console. When we came here, at this point where we were adding the message, you put something like dash M. I want to link, okay, this is at this point, and then we put the description. So also when you are creating a file on GitHub for that, you can also add optional description here. In this case, I'm going to add something like this was created on GitHub. All right. And then you now say commit directly to main. As we check this, it's going to be added directly to main. If we don't check it and check this one, it's going to create a new branch that has this content, which will then be ready to be merged into our existing main branch. So I'm going to merge it directly with main by when we start building the project content, then we will continue with our more lessons on creating and managing branches. Now you look at we now have a README file, and then look at the file, the description that it has there, which is the default there, is create a README file. There was something about it there. There was instruction written about it there. So let's look at the instruction. When you look at the content, this is the content of the file. As we click on that particular link, it's showing us the thing that we wrote on that particular file. Now, when we come back here, you look at all those things we wrote there are now part of our project description. The README file is now active. Before this time, what you see here was our description when we are creating the repository. But now, what you are now seeing here is the content of our README file. Now, if we come here now to our code, we want to just create, let's say, alert in our JS file and say calculator projects started. Okay, I'm also going to write changes in our HTML. So let's just scaffold our HTML, and then we'll call this calculator, a calculator app. Okay, so we have now changed, we have edited two files in our project. These two files we have edited, the content of this file now is not in the file online. Also, the content of the JS file is not on the JS file online. Those two are empty online. But then we also have a new file online called readme .md, which is not also in our system. Now let's see, there is a code called git status. This status is going to tell you the changes in your system. And look at what it's telling us at this point. It's saying modified. We have modified HTML and JS files because we have written new file or new content to them, which we are not part of them in the last time we wrote git.commit. So now these are the changes after that git.commit command we executed. So what we can do, we can add them one by one, or we can also do git.add dot. Git add dot. We can do git add dot to add all of them at the same time. But let's add them one by one now. Let's say calculator dot HTML. We are adding this one, and then you see it has been added. If you now put git status now and look at it now, the modified one is now, we now have it in green, git HTML, which we have staged already. Said the calculator now is staged and it's green, while the other one, the JS file, is still red because these changes have not been staged. They have not been added to the Git tracking. Git have known that there are changes in this file, but we've not added it to Git for Git to handle it from here. If we do .add again, we are going to add it to Git, and then we can commit it and push it online. So let's also add this one, git.add, and then we put a calculator.js. So if we put our Git status again, you just find out that both of them now are green and no one is red. So what we can do now is to now commit it, git commit hyphen m. Let's now give it a different message. Let's say um, calculator.js and calculator.html has been folded. All right. So we just execute this. Now, Git is telling us that two files change and 16 insertion. Now, let's go and look at it. This one have one insertion, one line of code have been added. Now, let's go to the HTML. You see, HTML have 15 lines that have been added, and that is why we are now having 16 insertions. There is no deletion because no line of code is removed yet. So what we can do now, if we do git push, you see what is going to happen now. Okay, we want to push these two files online, the changes we have made. They will not be created afresh online. Now look at what we are having here. Because there is a file online which is not in our system, Git is telling us that this push cannot work because there are some changes online that we don't have here. So it's saying the fail to push some refs to HTTP to our link calculator. Okay, what we can do now is to first of all update our local repository with the content of the one online. And then this is the information is giving you hint. First of all, do git pull. This pull means fetch the things that are online for us from the same link which you are working on. That is the main branch, and then update our local branch, our local system now with the content of the file online, which is not in our local machine. So let's do that git pull, and then you see. Okay, let's just wait for a moment. You see, okay, now you see what the information now is saying that one file change, five intersections, sorry, five insertions, create mode. Because this file is not in our system, the mode is create mode. Okay, so now let's look at our file system now. In this calculator folder, you now see the file readme.md is now available here, and the content of it is the same thing that we have online. So you now see the name of our calculator, a calculator app built with web technologies, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. This project is for our EasyLearn Mastership Easy Labs mentorship program. So this is the same content we have in our lab, our GitHub. This is the same content here. It has been fetched for us from the code online. So this is very interesting. If you have any changes made to your code online, which is not in your local system, Git is going to tell you, say, hey, bro, there is a change between what you have in your, there is a change, a difference between what you have in your system and what we have hosted online for you. And then it's going to suggest for you, why not do a cheat pool to update your local system with what we have online, so that you can then push everything together. You know that what you are pushing, your system, you are pushing an updated, and the up is also going to be updated. And if there is a possibility that the code cannot be merged automatically, Git is also going to give you some information on how you can do the merging manually, or what you can do to merge them automatically. So now we can do our git push and it will be successful. So what? Let's write your code now, git push, and then okay. Just a moment. Let's see the outcome of our code. Now you see our code have successfully been pushed online, and it's telling us this is the ID. They are we can use to identify this our commits, our push online now. You're not saying if you look at this information, it's saying 12 objects. It's just giving us information about what have been done, and then you see. Okay. Then this is the link where it push it, and this is the link. So now let's visit GitHub again and try to open those files. Remember, it's a calculator and HTML and JS that we made changes. So let's open our HTML. Now you look at the HTML file we have in our lab local system. The content is now, we change the title to calculator app, which is now available for us online. And then when you look at the commit message, Now look at what the message we wrote when we were creating the commits in our system. We say calculator JS and calculator HTML have been scaffolded. So this is telling us what we actually did at this point before we did the push or at the point of commit. So if we come back again and open our .js file, you see that the change which we also make, which is just a line of code, alert calculator project started, is also now available. So this is the interesting thing about Git, which we are going to be doing every day as we proceed in building our calculator project and in our subsequent classes. Okay, I don't know at this point if we have any question. Let's ask our questions and see what we can do to answer them.
Uh, the truth is that everything is happening very fast at this point. I don't know. Maybe is there any way you can give us a clip again or something, or
Anyway, I can give you us what?
a more
For
as if you can come back a little. The whole process is just very fast, and this is my first time on JIT.
video, like he normally posts video so that you can still go back and watch it after the class, so that you can still download digest the messages.
Yeah, and that was why I really wanted you guys to be following me along. But it's fun. What you do as you watch the video, you try to do what we did. You know, you don't become a developer by just watching videos or reading books or listening to classes. You actually become when you practice. What you need to do, our assignment this night is to create our repository on create our GitHub account, create a repository called calculator the way we created, and also create our project folder called calculator in your laptop and create this tray file and just repeat everything we have done now. If you're able to get it to this point, believe me, you have gone a long way in your Git usage. And then every other thing we'll be doing is just revolving around this. At a point, we might do some push that will be having conflict, and especially when we start collaborating, then we'll begin to learn new skill like how we can revert to previous code or how we can do different things. You know, some most of the time, these things will lead us to learning more JIT related skills. But at this point, what is so basic and nice for us to grab is creating our account, creating the repository, creating a file, and linking the repository with our project in our laptop so that you now have your code online. Okay. And you see that in my repository here, I don't have much work. I created this repository, this GitHub account, especially for our teaching. And the only file I have here is the project I started in during this time, which is the awesome calculator, which I'm working on for our recording. I just made some couple of changes, trying to rebuild it. And that is why there some of those changes are not here, but I've have that in my main GitHub account, which is not Standever. That one is use another GitHub email, and that one is the one I use for my main work and in my resume. I have so many projects there, beginning from just API to only front end and then full stack applications. So as we begin to utilize this skill, at the end of the time, you find out that you have a couple of projects. And when we finish our calculator, and you have a calculator project in your GitHub. Like now, I have two now: the calculator we just created and the awesome recorder. Then when we move into something else like a game, you will also have that. When we move to the e-commerce, you also have that. Before the end of the time, you find out that you have now have about two, three, five or more projects on your repository on your GitHub account, and then you can begin to build on other things and build your skill the more. Okay, so in order to just get a like revision, let me go.
Okay, sorry, sir. This is just I'm with Gift because of my network issue. Sir, I want to ask concerning that terminal. When you were using the terminal, I don't know whether you could just quickly go back to the terminal and explain how you were manipulating those. Because for me, that's a form of manipulation. How you were able to manipulate those. This thing, the push, the get, git push, get pull, and all the rest, so that I'll get it. afresh.
Okay. Okay. It's like you and Gift are living within the same neighborhood.
A
No,
bit close.
not really, sha, but I have, for the love of this thing, my network is really disturbing me. If it is for me to be paying TP every night to be with him so that
I
I have
just want to
network.
help him out. It's my boy.
That is awesome. Well, what are friends for? You help your one another, and that is the spirit. And then there is one funny thing and or interesting thing about that is you guys can build a better drive if both of you have read drive to get this done. So being together can create a lot of motivations. And the other hand, if one person have a high influence and is not much interested, he can kill also the morale of the other. So I guess both of you, your morals are so high to get the knowledge so that you'll be pushing one another to actually get something done. I hope so. Okay, so let me go back again. And so I like your cooperation. It's very nice. And for Chinedun, I don't know, there is nobody close to you that you can be partnering with once in a while. Or you have anyone
Me,
close to you there?
I, I'm in the fan not, so I don't know.
Okay. Okay, now okay, let me also bring to our notice. You see here, this area. Okay, I'm no longer sharing screen. Let me go back again. All right, this area is tracking when you did a change was made on the file. So you can see them like the first thing we did is telling us 21 minutes ago. That is the first commit we did, which is first commit. All files are currently empty. You know, we didn't edit the calculator.css, so it's still where it was, and that one is 21 minutes ago. While the readme is 14 minutes, then these two are 10 minutes old. So as the day goes on, it will be changing. Before you know, it's 1 year old. You know, before you know, it's 10 years. If we come to this my awesome recorder and you look at the files, you find out that some of them, I think I push all of them virtually since they see the 5 days ago. So you'll be able to see when last the work was done on that. All right, so let's go back to our terminal and see. Okay, so we used a couple of git command here. So I'm going to go to the first one, git, this one called git init. I told you that is going to make your working folder where you are a Git repository. Just look at initialize empty Git repository in the location of your project. And then Git repositories are usually in an invisible folder called .git. When you look at your project, our project folder here, there is no folder called .git, but it's there. It's an invisible folder. There is some settings you can do in your system to make them visible, but there's usually no need at this stage, except you have issues. I don't think you will have need of looking at what is inside there. Git is using that folder to manage your project. And then we have another command called git add. Git add is used to add a file into our Git staging environment. The staging environment is an environment where all the files we make changes, we put them first and then wait for what we can do with it, whether we will commit it to Git and then push it online. And you can either add a single file or you can add everything in your project that have changes. And to add everything, you just put the dot in front of your add, and you just put space and dot and you to add everything. But if you want to add a particular file, what you should be here is the name of the file, like we did in this case when we added a calculator. We did git add calculator.js. That is at this stage we did git add calculator.js. So it's only going to pick this particular file and add it for you. If the file is in subfolder, you can do git add, you know, you link to that particular folder and then to the file, and it will pick it and add it for you. And after adding to G, the next thing you do, the next stage is to commit your work. After when you commit your work, is going then to create the files in your Git environment. Now, like you see, the first time we did a commit, what it did is it created the files for us because the files were not yet existing in our Git folder. That is in the .git environment where Git is using to manage our work. So what it will do then is to create the file. So it created these three files for us. So and then the next thing we do, because the repository is new, we have not linked both of them. And the branch online that Git is using as main branch currently is main. So we now have to create branch. This thing means Git branch means create a branch with the name of the branch called main. Okay, so this hyphen m is also a tag or a kind of a command here that also tells G to do further work apart from just creating the main, like switching to this particular branch immediately. So if you don't put this, which is just if you don't put the dash m, it will just create the main branch and you do the switching to main by yourself. But if you put it, it will create the main branch and switch to it immediately. So it also created main for us now and move our current branch from master to main. And then to link the one you have on your GitHub or any other version control repository system for you, you use the git remote command. You say git remote. This remote is signaling, telling git that I want to add another repository that is not in my system. Now, when you do git init, the repository is created in your laptop, in your project folder. Like here, this is where our own is. Now, we want to add another location of git repository that is not in our laptop. So we say git remote add, and then we put origin. This is the name of our link. So this particular link repository is identified by origin, just like we give variable names in our programming. So when we call origin, we actually reference in this particular URL, which is on our GitHub repository account. So it's a GitHub repository for us. So now we put the name of the link to that repository. And in this case, it's just an HTTP link we are using. There are different ways you can link your Git using SSH or even other means, but in this case, we are just using our HTTP link in our account. And now, after we've done the linking, what you do now is to do Git push. What this push means, just like in your normal scenario, when you are pushing something, you are changing the location. So this Git push is picking all the files we have committed, like these three ones that have been created in the Git environment, is going to pick all of them and send them to the origin. You know, we say Git push origin. We want to push it to origin. That is the link where we want to push this, and you put dot u hyphen u because this particular origin have not been linked with the one we have up. So the main branch in our local system is not being watched or is not watching the one in our GitHub branch. So we just put hyphen u to set it as an upstream so that both of them can be watching one another. When you now want to push from up to down to up or pull from up to down, there could be smooth communication between both of them. And after that, once you execute this command, all the files you have in your system will be bundled and sent to that remote repository, in our case, our GitHub account. And you can find the file there. Then we came back again and said, okay, now we have our file online. Let's make some changes, which we did on our calculator.js and calculator.html, creating some file there. And then we added them one after the other. We look at after you made changes, the files you made changes will be marked red. But after you've added the file, you have done a git add and added the file, they will not be marked green the way it's marked here now. You know, this one is marked green after we have done git add here, git add calculator.html. And then we did another query called git status. The status shows up the state of our repository, the files that are changed and the ones that have been committed. And then the ones that have been staged and the ones that have just modified. Sorry. So, and in this case, we have staged this one, but this one have been modified but have not been staged. So the red color there means this file have been modified. It has been edited, but it have not been added to the Git staging environment. So when you now do git add and add the file, it will turn to green. Okay, and then after you've added the file, the next thing you do again is to do git.commit, which we did here. We committed it and also wrote a new message, calculator.js and calculator.html has been scaffolded. And this message is going to be bundled together with all its changes into a single commit history The commit history is going to hold all the files that were affected by that particular commit. So if you edited 10 files and you commit them, you add them to staging environment and commit, all the 10 files will be identified by that particular commit. So if we trace our commit in this particular, that first one we did, the 3 files will be available there. But if we trace at this point, is these 2 files that will be available there. Then after we did that, we found out that we couldn't push our file because we have gone up and created a README file. Then we needed to do our push now, our pull to fetch the README file from GitHub down to our laptop. Then we did Git pull, and Git was able to create the new file for us, giving us this information. Readme.md have been created for us. Then we could easily then do the push, and the files we are sent online for us. And we went on and verified that those changes have been sent online for us. So I don't know if this is a bit clearer. And in case you have any question, after you spend some time, watch the video and practice what we just did, and we'll be able to continue on this again tomorrow. But on Monday, yeah, on Monday we are going to look into starting to build our calculator app little by little. We build it starting from on Monday. I guess our class today is a bit clear to us. You understand the concept we've been able to treat tonight.
Yes, with the video, gets more clearer. That's cool.
Okay, so I'm so happy we have made this progress. Please do your best to get the video, watch, but when watching, not just to watch, you then do what we did so that when we begin on Monday, we should be able to, we won't be doing all these ones again. You should have even added these files, you push them online so that when we start writing our code, you will just begin to push the changes we make on Monday. And that would be nice. I think we'll come to the end of our class today. Today is really very brief than other days. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. If you have any question in line with what we learned this week, or any other question relating to what we are doing, you can signal me on our Telegram channel there, and we'll be able to discuss it. I hope I should have some time within this weekend so that I can respond to questions as fast as possible. All right, enjoy the rest of the weekend till we meet again on Monday.